Hello, yes, that's right, it's Joe here for Joyrider TV in Sokhna, to the east of Cairo, Egypt. Just going to go out sailing on the Hobie 16, single-handed. It's blowing about, I don't know, 14 knots of wind, and we're just going to look at the 3 levels that we can take it to single-handed in this sort of wind. But we'll start off by seeing how we're going to get off the beach. So the challenge kind of comes with doing everything alone. So I'm going to get the main sheet on, doing as much preparation as possible before putting the boat in the water. What we're also going to do at this time is identify what hazards we have. So looking out to sea, we've got down here to the right, we've got this pier. Wind is blowing from the left, so if anything goes wrong as we sail out, we could end up on that pier, so we just have to keep that in mind. I'm going to take the tiller extension round to where we want it right now, so then that's done. So okay, just freeing the jib off there. And I'm just going to drop this windward rudder down a little bit, so just got a little bit of steering, holding the boat at the back. The boat's going to bear away from the wind. When it's bore away a bit, I'm going to jump on. I'm going to grab the rudders. The first thing I want to do is just make sure that the main sheet hasn't got any pressure in it at all. So now we can we're on a beam reach, just got half of the windward rudder down, but we're going really slowly, and it's just to keep the pressure really down on the rudder, because if we power up at all with just having one rudder half down, it's going to get a lot of windward helm. It's going to be very difficult to control. So I'm just keeping it like this until I'm confident that the water is deep enough to put this rudder down. Now we have got the jib pulling a little bit. That's not even by design, that's just how it is. So I'm just going to release that traveller. One important thing I'm doing right now is just not letting the boat come too close to the wind, because if I do that, the boat's going to stop and we'll start just drifting downwind. But there's the end of the pier. We've just gone past the end there. So I'm going to put this rudder down. There we go. And now that that rudder is down, we can start sailing a bit, even though the leeward one is up. Because what I don't want to do single-handed, when there's a bit of wind, like it's about 12 knots probably, if I go to that corner on my own, there is a chance that the boat will pop a wheelie, we get the wind under the trampoline, and we capsize backwards, and that would not be a good start. So let's not do that. So instead, what I'm going to do is going to pull the downhaul on. So no downhaul up until this point. And again, the boat is taking care of itself largely. In the sailing, it's like we've got the autopilot on. So now that we've got the downhaul on, I'm going to bring the main sheet in and we're going to go for a tack. Because once we've tacked, I can then safely put the other rudder down. So I'm going to bring the jib in a bit. That's going to help once we get head to wind. Just going to bring the main sheet in. That's going to get us up to head to wind. Jib has backed. So just going to go forwards. We've now got the jib pulling the bow of the boat round. So I'm going to let that off because we're through the wind. Bring the tiller extension up here. And we're just sitting here on what I'm now calling the half hove-to. That's sails loose, rudders away. So the rudders are trying to push the boat up into the wind, but because we've got no pressure in the mainsail, the boat doesn't actually go all the way up into the wind. All right, and we've got it, we're doing this with the main sheet very loose, but we could do it with the traveller out as well for even less pressure. But at the moment, the main sheet being out is enough. So now I can put the rudder down. Oh, but we have got an inverted cam. All right, this is real stuff. So how are we going to fix this inverted cam? Well, I'm going to do this with the main sheet. So this is going to require me to pull the main sheet in a bit. So here we go. So I've got a bit of rope from the main sheet. Now, because we're not completely head to wind, I'm quite happy that we're not going to capsize backwards by me going to the back. And I'm just going to hook the main sheet under the cam like that. And then with everything in line, I'm just going to get a bit higher up. I'm going to give it a good, oh, no, she doesn't want to go like that. We're going to have to use the other technique. We could, of course, head back in, but that would be too easy. Oh, yes. So, here we go. Good idea probably to check there's nothing in front. There we go. Cam sorted, rudder locked down. That is, of course, quite an advanced technique, and I would suggest that you give that a go on the land at some point, so that then if it did happen to you when you're out sailing, you could at least know how to do that. Check out this video for a bit more on that technique. Okay, so we're now ready to start sailing, but there is a shallow area in front, so we're going to go for another tack first. And I don't really want to get the boat going fast before the tack, so we're going to use the static 3-point turn. All right, so here we go, static 3-point turn. We've got the jib cleated, but not necessarily tight. Bringing the main sheet in tight, looking forwards, jib is back and we're head to wind. Just reversing the rudders, get forward to this corner. There we go, we've tacked. I'll now bring the jib over to the other side. And there it is, jib is in, stick round the back, and now we're pointing out to sea. All right, so now, finally, we can actually start sailing. And, you know, there is a bit of wind, so I think I am going to depower the boat a bit for upwind by taking the jib traveller most of the way out, but the jib sheet in fairly tight. And then the traveller on the main, I'm just going to let out to the tow strap. Okay, so upwind sailing in this sort of wind, yeah, maybe it's come up a little bit, 14 knots, let's say. So I'm just sitting on the side of the boat, just behind the shroud, watching the jib, and just balancing our course between power, speed, and then depowering if I feel that this hull is coming up too much. Nice. Okay, so that's the first level. Second level would be to hook onto the trapeze. Okay, the amount of power that we've got is still good for this, and feet or 1 foot under the tow strap, and there I've just come out into this half trapezing position. So my weight is further out. I'm not hiking like a laser sailor. You know, we don't want to put too much effort in, but the trapeze wire is holding my weight on the side of the boat. The tow strap is stopping my feet from coming up in the air and keeping me kind of anchored to this part of the boat. All right, but we could sail along like this all day. Oh yeah, except probably not so safe to do going out right into the middle of the Gulf of Suez here in Egypt. Okay, and now we'll take it to stage 3, and that is going to be to fully move out onto the trapeze. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my back foot onto the side of the boat, and again we could sail out here like this all day. It's not very comfortable, I'll grant you that. And then when I'm ready, I'm just going to go for a big push. I'm going to time it with a bit of chop. Here we go. And then a very quick movement with the front foot to go from that one leg out to completely trapezing there. Very nice. And now we have got this fabulous view of the boat sailing along. What a day to be alive. Oh yeah, very nice. Okay, looking forwards, anticipating the waves. Again, still just feathering the boat up in the gusts, not having to play the main sheet very much at all. We've got it set up nicely with the amount of power with the traveller out a little bit. Okay, I'm now going to come in, so I don't want to come out here too far. So to come in, I'm going to reach down the stick, take the main sheet into the stick hand, grab the handle of the trapeze with the front hand, coming in towards the side of the boat, and as I do that, I'm just bending the back arm. There we go, to keep the boat going straight. Unhook from the trapeze as soon as we're back on the boat, and now we can look at going for a tack. Okay, so here we go, looking for a little bit of a flat spot before we tack. Main sheet's in tight. We can tack with the traveller out like this, and here we go. We're just going to turn assertively into the wind, watching the jib backs. So then I'm going to come up to this corner of the boat single-handed. If it's so windy I feel there is a chance of a capsize. And now, having settled the boat by getting this front corner of the boat back down, can then reach for the stick. I'll just tidy up the main sheet a bit. Okay, and I'm now going to set the new traveller on the new leeward side for the jib, and we can then pull the jib in there. Okay, of course, when we've been sailing, we do have to come back in. So right now I'm heading back into the beach. Very deep downwind actually, almost a bit deeper than a broad reach. I'm just going to let the downhaul off there. And what we can do, if we don't want to just run the boat up the beach, what we can do is I'm going to just a little bit out. We don't want the rudders to hit the bottom. It's nice to look after the rudders. Just going to turn the boat into the wind, and I'm going to lift this leeward rudder, get that up. I'm going to lift the windward rudder, get that up. And now the boat is just going to drift sideways into the beach. If we want it to go a little bit more forwards, I can pull the jib in. On the wrong side, pulls the bow round even more. If the boat isn't turning off the wind enough, this is a bit of rudderless sailing technique, by the way. We can then get our weight further back on the boat, and that's going to help to turn the boat a little bit more away from the wind. Okay, so we're getting close to the beach, so I can now jump in, holding the boat at the front. And there we are. So there we go, back on the beach, nice little sail. You don't have to be going flat out on the trapeze to have a nice time. You can just sit on the boat. There you are.